Hello interwebs, it is I, Hewlett, David Hewlett here with another audio awesome. This is where I know you don't have enough time to read everything that you want to read, so I'm going to read it for you. This is the email of awesome awesomeness that I try to send out every week, although during the holiday season that gets a little weird. This is the first email of awesome awesomeness of 2024. So welcome back to the world, everybody. Really looking forward to 2024. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday season with many happy bahs and joyous humbugs, and that you're as excited as I am about another amazing year of science and technology discoveries and innovations and all the rest of it. And I am delighted to share with you my first escape learning news of the year. This is this weird little project that I have. The idea that I think we should be using the design and creation of escape rooms to teach kids and to lock in kids learning. Right now, they're sort of showing up in schools every so often, but that they're seen as the end. Like that is the, they do the escape room puzzles and they finish and there you go, it's over. I think this is too much of a black box. We're providing kids with all this stuff and then just going, there you go, you've done what we need to get you to do, moving on. This way, I feel like they're allowed to pursue their own way of learning. And one of the ways that I got into this, of course, was with film and TV. So I had friends who were making films back when I was a kid. We thought we were getting out of projects at school because we would what if we just film something instead? And our teachers would go like, sure, go ahead. And we'd be like, aha, suckers. We get to do fun stuff instead of the writing that we don't want to do. Turns out, of course, we were just learning, and I was lucky enough to fall in with a bunch of friends who had similar interests, and I feel that this whole escape room learning thing is a way for that to happen. That people who are interested in the sciences, or people who are interested in the physics maybe, or the electronics, or the acting, or the writing, or the performing, any of this kind of stuff, you're going to find your people, and my hopes is that escape learning is the way to do that. And so I'm very, very excited to announce that I will be I am the official community partner of their first attempt at escape room learning explorations. I'm assuming that comes with like a badge or a crown, or, some kind of great honor of some sort. My fabulous friend over there, I'm not sure whether they want me to mention her name or not, so I won't, has an assignment for her biology students already, which is choosing a relevant topic to her biology course, but one that is also of use as a public science literacy project in general. Students have to design and engineer 3 or more puzzles and instructions based on their chosen theme, and they have to create a letter-based, like an escape mail. You've heard of that before, as I've used them with the TechBandits kids at the community center. An escape mail style escape project that they have to create, and I am just freaking out about it. I think it's fantastic. And I get to come to a couple of the shows. I was going to say shows. I get to come to a couple of the classes. I will talk to the students. I will get to witness their own discoveries as they go through this escape room stuff, and also any of their sort of debriefing stuff, what they're going to be playing with. So really, really excited about that. We're sort of moving ahead with that. Next up, and this email of awesome awesomeness is almost entirely influenced by our awesome reader, Nathan, who sent me a few fantastic stories, all of which sent me down rabbit holes, including my first introduction to meta-lens technology, which I'll get to in a moment. Also a fascinating plant-to-plant communications piece, discovery that they've made, and then kind of a fun tale of this typhoon riding streaked shearwater. And I'm going to start with that, because this typhoon riding seabird is the kind of nature story that is only possible with today's technology. The only way we could tell those stories. This is like bird nerd scientists. They're watching as this male streaked shearwater seabird completed, which is insane, an 11-hour, 1,146 kilometer, which is 712 mile journey above a freaking typhoon. I mean, this is the kind of storm that these birds would generally avoid with their lives. But I can see why this story caught Nathan's eye, because it's a tale about the power of nature and resilience and survival. But the story can only be written because of the technology in these tiny little trackable tags, that allow them to be precisely geolocated around the world. And this combination of satellite imagery and weather data and computer models, and not to mention all of the data that's collected from things like weather data and sea surface temperatures, wind patterns, atmospheric pressure, all this kind of stuff. It's just this, what I would call a perfect storm of collected knowledge and technologies. I mean, and I start wondering, like, what other stories are we going to be able to tell as new technologies are created? Like what, could we be watching immune responses inside the body live? Could nanoscale sensors allow us to witness a real life bug's journey? I mean, could you see ants doing the things that they're doing from the ant's perspective? Or Finding Nemo, we got him on a fish. Or Wall-E, a robot up in space doing trash collecting on Mars or whatever, picking up after the billionaires. Could these become live action documentaries? And I just find that very, very excited, because what an epoch of awesomeness we are finding ourselves in. And I just think that's kind of marvelous. Now, while we're talking sensors, I've got to get into meta-lens, because these meta-lenses, which literally the worst possible name for the most wonderful new camera technology, it just makes, the problem with meta-lenses, I picture sort of some nerd wearing a pair of goggles, staggering around the living room, knocking things over, trying to do VR. But the reality is, this is a complete departure from our usual lenses. Like, we have been using a combination of glass, or now I guess mostly plastic lenses, all stacked up to get the images that we want. And we've been doing that since like Galileo's days. Well, now it is time we go nanotech. And this nanotech is allowing us to build these little sort of nano bumps, these little nano structures on a structure that's literally like the width of a human hair, and use that to bend the light. So these little structures actually knock the light into the precise bends and tweaks that we need to get the images we want. And so we're talking about, instead of these big bulky cameras, I mean, when you look at an iPhone, this bump here, this bit here, this chunk sticking out is all because we've got to stick numerous lenses together to get the images we need. And that would replace all of that. And I'm also wondering, like, where else could this stuff end up? I mean, we've got a bunch of sort of bleeding edge examples that are out there right now. There's one that has a beautiful shot of the moon that they've managed to do on a single flat lens. But Baz and I are like always talking about how cool it would be to watch soccer from the perspective of the player, but they're not going to run around with like a camera stuck on their head. But they might if it's just a piece of fabric that has these nanostructures on it. Then you can get into things like you could have soccer from the perspective of the ball. I mean, the cameras are already ubiquitous. Like, we've got cameras pretty small. The fact that we can get them into iPhones and the like is extraordinary. So they're pretty ubiquitous already. But this meta lens tech could put them literally everywhere. So kind of exciting, a little terrifying as well. The last story that Nathan's given us is just set me down the epic multiple rabbit holes, because there's so much stuff for me to learn in the biology side of this. Since my flowing mullet hair of the 1980s, we have known that plants give off volatile organic compounds when they are damaged or when they're attacked by hungry caterpillars or whatever. And nearby plants can sense these VOCs, these volatile organic compounds, and they act as a kind of alarm, which allows other plants that have yet to be attacked to activate their defense response, and to take up arms against whatever's coming. Although I don't know what a blade of grass is going to do if it can smell cut grass. I'm not sure how much it can defend itself, but still, this is a response that they've witnessed before. But these green thumb scientists are all like, "Oh, that's really cool, great." They have no idea how it works until now. Well, they've taken a huge leap forward with this now, thanks to Professor Toyota at the Saitama University in Japan, who, as I put here, has a glowing response to his unique approach to visualizing plant-to-plant communications of this threat response in real time. So basically glowing because they literally glow. So what they've done is and this is something that scientists love to do. Science nerds love this little trick where they combine a green fluorescent protein, a GFP, with which fluoresces when exposed to ultraviolet light. They add that to whatever they're studying. They attach this fluorescent gene to the genes that produce the protein that they want to track and they want to study. And then if the cell lights up like a creepy Christmas tree under ultraviolet light, we can assume that the cell is creating or interacting with these attached proteins. It's so freaking smart. It's such a smart way of doing this. And Toyota and his team have added the fluorescent gene to the sensors on mustard plants that interact with calcium ions. Now you go, well, calcium ions, what the hell? What's that? Well, that's basically the danger, Will Robinson, that's coming from the VOCs, calcium ions. The results is that, I've got a video here where you can actually see bursts of fluorescence spreading across these mustard plants as the calcium ions act like regulators, within the plant. And these calcium ions are responsible for things like growth and developmental processes in the plants. Also in humans as well, for that matter. And so you can actually see these changes in the concentration of calcium ions across the plant. Very, very cool. And then just to make sure that they were on the right track, they blocked them. So they said, okay, let's create a plant that is unable to interact with these calcium ions and see if the defense response still shows up. Nope, no defense response. So they go, aha, it's those pesky little calcium ions. Anyways, it's just amazing how sort of powerful and prevalent this GFP, this green fluorescent protein technology is in science. I mean, it's detective work at its best. It's creepy, glowing detective work. I love it. And then I'm going to get on to the story that I had before Nathan got me off on my many million different tangents, and that was AI influencers. This kind of fascinates me because I'm kind of obsessed with the idea that Hollywood spends like $500 million on a movie at a time, hires a bunch of actors, and what happens if they get sick? What happens if they die? What happens if they go to jail or do something stupid or offensive? And then what do? You got a $500 million movie with your leads in jail or whatever. What are you going to do with that? And so I started thinking well, most of these big blockbuster movies are they might as well be animated anyways. They're all physics defying, superhero movies and stuff. Why not just cast metahumans? Why not just create your own megastars? Then you don't have to worry about what they're going to say or what they're going to do. You don't have to worry about them being in competing movies or saying anything stupid. You just create your own. And well, it turns out the influencer marketing firm in Barcelona has already beaten us to it by getting sick and tired of dealing with influencers. Apparently they were too fickle and too demanding and too unreliable. They created their own. So they used AI to create these models, and they're calling the agency The Clueless, which I love. It's an AI-only modeling agency, and it's created this model called Aitana Lopez, and she is a fitness influencer who doesn't exist. They've labeled her as an AI-generated or powered by AI influencer. She's a pink-haired 25-year-old. And it's not like they're hiding this in any way. It's clearly labeled, that they're AI generated. She's making them $11,000 a month right now. This imaginary person, without hiding the fact that they're imaginary, has 237,000 followers and just 68 posts. So quite a feat for Barcelona's digital muse, as they call her. And so I started getting kind of fascinated with that because I thought, well, wait a second. If we're going to create our own AI models, we can create anything we want. So why would we stick with like a boring old human when we can create anything we want? So I thought I would have a look into this, and I started working on Meredith. And Meredith is a tech-curious raccoon science fan who roams the world seeking knowledge and trying to live a brave, kind, and brilliant existence while looking great doing it. And I have presented here in my email of awesomeness a little Instagram profile example for it, and a few examples of the kind of photos that would occur. And I sort of look forward to playing with this because it started off as a lark. But I started thinking about it more and more, and I started going well, why not? Like, this is kind of a new form of creativity where you can dream up these characters that could be completely unreal, like a tourist raccoon, and you can do anything you want with them. So you can use them to brand things, you can use them to promote things, you can just create stories that are engaging to people in the same way that we do on Instagram and social media as it is right now. So I'm really quite taken with this idea, and I look forward to any suggestions you've got in that regard. Looking forward to sort of seeing where we can go with Meredith and whatever other animal friends we come up with. So that is it. Please go check out the techbandits.org website. Pick up some merch. That would be very, very helpful to me, or throw a Patreon or donation or something our way would be marvelous. And no matter what you do, be brave, be kind, be brilliant, and until we geek again, I will say cheerio and huzzah! See ya!